Hey, Rawcast listeners, Doug here with another session. Getting a little bit of a late start now because we had some technical difficulties, so I'm going to jump right into it. Was going to go ahead and do a whole spiel about Bernie Sanders and lead into an introduction, but essentially I'm super excited to have my guest Michael Clark here today, who's wearing a Sriracha shirt. He's a former colleague, a good friend, and a volunteer for Bernie 2016. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Doug. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. And yes, the sriracha. It's the best. It's the best topping you can have. Definitely goes with everything.
I love Sriracha. Maybe even ice cream. I don't know.
Maybe.
But so the first question I've got to ask, I said before, like this, how we first realized we both were Bernie supporters. You had something out at work when we worked together, and started from there, just having conversations. Probably shouldn't have politics in the workplace, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I was excited to hear that you were actually a volunteer for the campaign. How did we get started in that?
Well, I actually learned about Bernie Sanders online, Reddit actually. It's a open forum based discussion type website, and they opened my eyes to Bernie and his ideals, and it kind of stuck with me. And I grassrooted all my friends into, well, at least I tried to talk them into, giving Bernie a chance. And yeah, I put stickers and everything. I got a bumper sticker on my car. I've got the yard signs out for Bernie.
Which is totally awesome. You hooked me up with a couple signs for Bernie. I was one of those that back when Jon Stewart was on The Daily Show, I'd watch episodes, and every now and then they'd show what the Independent from Vermont had to say. And I kind of fell in love with Bernie then. And when he announced his campaign for presidency, I was doing backflips.
Yeah.
I was so excited because I'll admit I don't really want to have to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, better than Trump. I can say that.
Oh God, what's scarier though, Donald Trump or Ted Cruz? Really?
Oh man. Well, I think we would be quite a lot, or we'd be separated quite a bit more with Donald building that huge wall he's been talking about. So that's pretty sketchy. Sketchy.
That is very sketchy in my opinion. I really don't think that would work. But look at what Bernie Sanders did. When he first got into the race, he was the underdog. The media wouldn't even touch him because they thought he was going to be the Martin O'Malley figure, where he pulled so low it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
But America loves an underdog.
Exactly.
And I don't think that Sanders is necessarily the underdog anymore so much as just the underestimated.
Exactly. Yeah.
I looked up some polls, and recently what we've got going on, Marquette University Law School poll currently has Clinton at 45% and Sanders at 43%.
Wow.
And that's as of January 28th in Wisconsin. That's the Wisconsin poll. Currently, New Hampshire's looking at Sanders 56.9%, Clinton 37.6%. And then we get to South Carolina, where Clinton has almost double the percentage in the polls over Sanders. But then again, I didn't get to watch the fifth debate. I probably should have before we recorded this episode. But online polls have Bernie Sanders winning the fifth Democratic debate 86% to Hillary's 14%.
I can definitely see that happening. I think Bernie's very good at debating. He debates very well. He sticks to what he believes in, and he doesn't really veer too far off the path. He kind of just drills in, what he believes in all the time. He always does his plugs.
And he will just bypass irrelevant questions to focus on the meat and potatoes of the argument.
Exactly.
That's what I think people our age love him for that. He's like, who cares about that? Let's just talk about the real issues. Yeah. He's that grumpy old Jewish guy that wants to get things done. Yep. And I appreciate every aspect of it.
Especially when he expressed that he was sick of those damn emails. That was pretty great.
That was debate. A good turning point for him.
Truly.
Like, he actually pulled some supporters from Clinton just because, whoa, wow, you know, I've never heard a politician talk like that.
Yep.
And Sanders, to me, is, whether people think he can win or not, you get enough people saying, oh, he can never win. Not with that attitude. Yep. Like, come on. What do you expect? I mean, and then another issue that I have, and I think some voters are frustrated with it, I know a few people, when Sanders uses the term free college, Well, people get upset and they spin it and, oh, free stuff. You all just want free stuff.
Yeah.
There is no better way really to explain it, but it's not that we're asking for free healthcare or free education. We would all pitch in a little bit more to cover that cost.
Yeah.
I'm a huge supporter of universal healthcare and universal education. And
That's my.
I mean, those two alone would have me voting for Sanders.
Yeah.
Like, so you actually volunteer for the campaign. I know you were distributing, you got buttons there, stickers. You gave me some signs. Very grateful for that.
No problem.
I still want my Feel the Burn shirt, but it wasn't actually endorsed by the campaign, so I didn't know where the money would go.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you're buying things for a politician, you definitely want to know where your money's going, if it's going to help them or if it's just gonna help a company sell some shirts. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Or worst case scenario, what if somebody just started up a basically hollow company to sell these shirts and run smear campaigns against Sanders?
Exactly.
You never know. Politics in this country is dirty, and that's another reason I support Sanders. Like Citizens United, he wants to just strike that from the record.
Mm-hmm.
That was seriously such a terrible decision. And ultimately getting the big money out of politics. Have it go back to just being publicly funded.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but money is not freedom of speech.
Really
money is money.
Yeah.
But so now you've got a group of friends that you volunteer with for this, right? Do you work together? What kind of activities do you do for volunteering?
Well, what I'm going to start doing a lot more of is phone banking for those states that are coming up. I think just calling out and seeing who people are, feeling out for the election and see if I can make them lean a little bit more towards Bernie. Just shell out some facts about him. I'm sure that his facts will speak volumes for him.
Okay, well, let's test that a little bit. I do have a listener that asked a question. As of right now, I believe she's siding more towards Hillary because, like many of us, what's going on the right, the GOP has such a circus going on.
Yeah.
I consider myself a political independent, but in no way could I see myself voting for any of the Republican candidates that are in the field right now. Rand Paul, maybe I would have considered on the Libertarian front, but I believe he just recently announced he dropped out of the race.
He did, yeah. He was pulling pretty low.
But he did not endorse a candidate, whereas, well, I forget who dropped out and endorsed Rubio.
I can't think of his name either.
Not important.
Yeah, exactly.
But so this listener has the question. She sees Hillary Clinton as somebody who's strong, very well poised, and is in control of her faculties. She can get the job done. She has proven herself with her track record as Secretary of State. And so she asks, overall, in comparison to Hillary Clinton and her proven record, does Bernie have the balls?
Does Bernie have the balls? Well,
convince this listener. How does Bernie have the balls?
I would say Bernie has the balls just by the fact that he's been doing it for so long. He's been saying the same things for years and years. And I think that takes a lot of confidence in what he believes in. And I mean, having the balls, I mean, that could coincide with, thinking that he's too old or something like that. But he's only 5 years older than Trump, 6 years older than Hillary. So that shouldn't even be an issue. I think Hillary is definitely a strong politician. She's got the super PACs behind her. She's a well-known politician named the Clinton name, obviously. But I think Bernie, he definitely has the balls, and he has the community behind him, the grassroots. It's really taken off.
The grassroots thing especially, because our generation, I would say, is probably makes up the greatest percentage point on the demographic of Bernie supporters. And what was it now? He surpassed 3 million individual contributions.
Yeah. And they were averaged out to be like $27 a piece or something like that. Yep. That's amazing.
An average contribution of $27. I mean, I contributed $40 to his campaign. Money may be tight, but in today's times, Citizens United, money is free speech. Well, you know what? My $40 hopefully cancel out $40 on the other end.
Exactly.
But to me so far with the grassroots movement, and I can't even remember. I think he had, within 2 months of the campaign being launched, he had over 200,000 people volunteer.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yep. He's got a lot of the younger community going, volunteering for him. And I feel like he hasn't quite reached out to the older folks yet, but he's working on it. He's definitely got, the millennials, people my age, our age, definitely got our vote.
I really, on the Republican side, you do have a lot of military people or military supporters that lean to the right or are just staunch Republicans, which I don't understand, because you actually look at not necessarily the military record, but who's been involved with the Veterans Affairs the most. That's Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely. All the way.
All the way. I mean, he has been such a huge supporter. Wasn't he the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee?
He was. I mean, out of anybody, I think he cares about the veterans the most.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I loved hearing there was a mother of a soldier who thanked Bernie Sanders for not referring to her child as boots on the ground.
Yeah.
On the right, you see so many people, we need boots on the ground, boots on the ground. Well, how many of the people on the right that are running for president have children that are active duty?
Yeah.
Just like when we went to Afghanistan and Iraq, if I remember correctly, out of all the Congress men and women, we only had one, I think, that had a child that did a tour.
Yeah, they need to be seen as actual people. They can't just be seen as units of labor or anything like that. I mean, they've got families, children's, fathers.
Absolutely. This isn't business. You can't just look at the stats and the accounting on paper and make your judgments.
Yeah.
These are human lives at stake. And if we can't take care of the ones that are coming home now that are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, or they're amputees, and some of them gave their lives. Quite a few, actually. And that's a huge deal. You got to think about that. How many families are torn apart by this? Yeah. And it's just so easy for people on the right to say, we need boots on the ground.
Exactly. And my
even Clinton, actually. Well, go ahead.
My father, actually, he suffers from PTSD. He was in the Gulf War. He's actually considered 100% total and completely disabled just from what happened when he was in the war.
And how much help did he get up until probably the past few years?
Yeah, not much. He just recently started, pulling in his benefits that he's entitled to. I mean, he sacrificed a lot.
He earned those.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're still now just getting improvements in the veteran care from the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. How long ago did that happen?
Yeah.
We don't understand how to fully take care of our veterans. I saw back a couple of years ago on The Daily Show, there were 2 veterans that had done a few tours of duty in the Middle East. They had come back and they were starting this program that actually helped reintegrate soldiers into society and found them jobs.
Yeah, that's great.
That's just one side of it, though. Mm-hmm. The mental health, reintegrating them back into society, getting them jobs where their experience from the military actually will serve them best in the private life. But then Bernie does have the grassroots movement, and he's extremely popular. That's great for the election. But what happens when Bernie gets in office? Does he have the balls then?
Yeah, I mean, Bernie is the start of a revolution, but we need to continue the trend, getting Congress members and Senate members, getting progressives in those spots. I think that's going to be a big part of it, too. If Bernie gets elected and he has a House of Republicans, he's not going to be able to do a whole lot compared to if he had, Democrats with him.
Yep.
Or,
And I totally agree with that. I think that Bernie's got his heart and mind in the right place. He's definitely not going to be able to get it done on his own. Look at Barack Obama.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Barack Obama has been a solid president.
Absolutely.
Anybody that disagrees with that, I see hate across Facebook. Obama, can't wait till he's out of office.
Yeah.
Well, do your homework. Actually research a little bit. I discussed on a rant not too long ago where basically it was about Donald Trump in the election process and the candidacy and all that, where I understand that people work full time. They're tired when they get home. They want to do what they want to do. They don't want to sit down and listen to politics or read up on it. So essentially these people, say Trump gives an hour-long speech, the media takes a couple sound bites, and then they throw the positive ones on Fox News, the negative ones on MSNBC, and so these people are getting maybe 5-10 second sound bites
Yeah.
and forming their political opinion.
Yeah, you can't really form a political opinion by a title. You definitely need to, jump in and make your own opinion on, what the candidates are saying and their beliefs.
I totally agree with that. So we do need to see a swing to the left. And like I said, I'm independent. If there was somebody on the right that I thought could have the necessary caliber to get what we need done, taken care of, I would. But with where we're at right now, with Wall Street deregulated, with Citizens United, yeah, the Supreme Court, threw us a nice meatball with gay marriage.
Yeah,
I thought that
great.
was fantastic.
Absolutely.
But there's so much more to it. Climate change, wages, everything that Bernie Sanders is talking about. Like, this is just, I think, roughly half. If you go to berniesanders.com, this is half the issues of what he stands for. He wants to address income and wealth inequality, debt-free college, Citizens United, getting the big money out of politics, actually having livable wages or living wage, addressing climate change, fair and humane immigration, racial justice, and that, like, the Black Lives Matter, when they started kind of protesting the Bernie Sanders campaign,
Yeah.
that was such a misunderstanding until they got on the same page and people started realizing, like the Black Caucus, I think they're finally realizing that Bernie Sanders is the only candidate out of everybody that's running for president that stands with them on those issues. He marched with Martin Luther King.
Yeah, he's been supporting them. It's nothing new. Absolutely.
He's got an arrest record because he marched.
Yeah. That's outstanding. I mean, not a lot of politicians can say that they've been this consistent with their beliefs for so long.
Absolutely. And some people can see that as a weakness, but the fact is he's been winning elections. He's been in the House. He's been in the Senate. He was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont. Since what, 70s? Is that when he first got
I
elected?
believe so, yeah. Just about 40 years ago.
And
50.
he's had the same platform for decades. He's proven not to be a flip-flop type of candidate, where Hillary Clinton, back from the 90s, she's flip-flopped on so many things.
Yeah.
The inconsistency, we want somebody who's quality. And so Bernie has the balls, I would say, because he is standing up and saying exactly what needs to be said. And finally, our generation is giving him that platform. Whereas Hillary Clinton may have the balls, but she doesn't have the actual motivation.
Yes.
I almost
exactly.
wonder if Hillary Clinton doesn't want to be in the White House because that's the next notch in her belt she needs to carve out,
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
So, I mean, South Carolina's obviously going to go to Clinton. There were more on that list. Women's rights. He totally believes in pay equality for men and women. He totally supports the LGBT equality efforts.
And he has since the beginning also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Way back when. Basically, if you're a minority, whether it's sexual orientation, gender, the color of your skin, doesn't matter. Bernie Sanders believed in a government for all since first getting into politics. And we already covered veteran care. That's huge. And then Medicare for all. He does want to move towards universal health care. I think what Obamacare did, and I hate calling it that because it's the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
Yeah, it's frustrating because a lot of people still can't afford it. But I believe that was a necessary step in the right direction. Whereas, like what you said with how Bernie's representing the political revolution, at the very least, Bernie Sanders is going to be that first crack through the ice that breaks us through to the other side. And hopefully we can continue that trend. If enough of us throw our support behind him and candidates like him, we can swing the House, we can swing the Senate, we can actually move forward into the 21st century.
Yeah.
Because we're moving backwards. Our economy's doing great. And yeah, I saw an article recently that wages are starting to go up a little bit.
A little bit.
Not enough. Realistically, adjusted for inflation,
We're way
wages were
behind.
higher in 68 than they are now. But so the media attention. it's people like you that truly got behind this campaign that have turned it around. The media has started giving Bernie more attention, but it does seem like now the polls come out and Bernie Sanders is slaying it.
Yeah.
And then the
Absolutely.
media comes out, well, here's this little nitpicky detail that we're going to turn into an article that throws down the campaign.
Yeah, I think he's unfairly represented in the media. I think Hillary's got a, a leg up in the media portion, that's for sure. But he's getting there, and the grassroots is starting. Just throwing out his links and stuff on Facebook and just getting the word out. That's big.
Absolutely. I mean, so what are you hoping for? I mean, with Iowa, you saw that, a virtual tie.
Yeah, it's got to go to the coin toss.
When, I didn't think that it would be that close. I mean,
didn't
yeah,
either.
deep down, I wanted Sanders to win by a landslide, but the polls said otherwise.
Exactly.
And what was it, 4 votes?
Yeah, and then they did like 6 coin tosses or something like that, something similar.
Is that what they did?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't read the follow-up on that. Wow.
Yeah, it was a close one, absolutely.
But the fact that a political candidate who, like Hillary Clinton, who's got a super PAC, she's got the majority of the congressional endorsements, to be able to virtually tie with the underdog who's only been smeared by the big mainstream media, who has only been getting an average of $27 per contribution, who doesn't have a super PAC, that was a win in our book, I think.
Absolutely, it's a big win, and it's going to start us off right.
That's momentum heading into New Hampshire, where we said 56.9% Sanders, Clinton 37.6% right now. So it comes down to, as long as everybody shows up to vote, this is going to be a lot closer than people thought.
Especially if we can get all the younger folks out to vote. That'll be big because, as I said, they're largely in support of Bernie Sanders.
That is something that I preach every election cycle, the importance of voting. I mean, deep down, yeah, I want you to vote for Bernie Sanders this time around, but I don't care who you vote for necessarily, as long as you get out and do it. That's our civic duty.
Yeah. And, Bernie's thrown the idea out of national voting day, making it a holiday to get everybody the opportunity to go out and vote and voice their opinions.
And I'm all for that, because we should encourage action in the political process, involvement. I can't remember how I got through the election days where my polling center was a block away, but having kids and then working 2 jobs,
Yeah.
it was tough to find the time to go vote.
No doubt.
But I got it done. Now, if I was able to have, I don't even care if it's a paid holiday. I'm just going to point that out right now. We don't want just free stuff. Just make sure that you're off that day. Businesses close, or at the very least, employers allow you to go vote.
Yeah, at least leave and come back or anything like that.
I would love to be able to take my kids and show them the voting process and explain the importance.
Yeah.
And there are people that, I know a few people actually, that say they don't vote because their vote doesn't matter anyway. Yes, the Electoral College decides the president.
Which is kind of silly, in my opinion.
It is kind of silly. It should just be a straight popular vote, yeah. Al Gore. But the big thing about that, to me, as I'm messing with the soundboard here, the big thing with me is a lot of times the popular vote can help sway the Electoral College. They're paying attention to that. They're not just going to say, yep, I don't care what the people think.
Yeah.
Because then again, we decide that Electoral College, instead of making sure that people are voting every 4 years, they need to be making sure they're voting every 2.
Yeah. And in your local elections and everything, just
That's terribly important.
voice your opinion, absolutely.
And so please, rock the vote, yo.
Yeah.
I believe in Michael Moore with that. He was huge in making sure that people got out and voted. But with this kind of excitement, people thought that Bernie Sanders' campaign was going to fizzle out within the first couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit, I've kind of scaled back my support as far as social media and talking to people about it, but there is still that excitement.
Yeah. Yes, there definitely is. And maybe I throw out too many links for Bernie. Maybe I'm overbearing for my Facebook friends, but I think it's really important. And if I'm going to be doing that sort of thing on Facebook, it might as well be for a good cause.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like when I post so many things about Bernie Sanders or just anything about politics in general, and then I see somebody posting another cat video, I'm like, all right, I get it. There's people that want to use it for entertainment, but why is it so taboo to talk politics in public?
I mean, it's a good place. I've had a few good political discussions on Facebook with some friends, and it's great. It's open. Everybody can see it, and I think it's a great place to talk about politics if everybody's willing. I mean, you don't want to overload everybody with it, but it's necessary.
I completely agree. Like we were saying with the sound bites, where a lot of people get their news because the media tosses them the morsel, and they go, Trump.
Bite on it.
On the right, Rubio, Cruz, Trump. Any of the three do you think could actually be real contenders for the presidency against Sanders?
I think they'd be able to put up a fight against Sanders, but once we get the narrower debates, with Bernie Sanders hopefully winning the nomination and going against a Republican, he debates really, really well. So I think once he gets the national coverage that he needs, and everybody maybe hopefully gets those sound bites of Bernie instead, it'll turn around. And I think if Bernie wins the nomination, I'm very confident that he'd be able to become commander-in-chief.
The majority of the polls show that Bernie Sanders would beat virtually every Republican candidate.
Yeah, I've seen those. That's exciting.
It is very exciting, but what I think the biggest frustration for me is that the DNC is what we have to worry about. Basically, the Democratic establishment, who have basically already thrown in their lot with Clinton. They need to be convinced otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, with that 3 million individual contributions for Bernie, and then Hillary goes out and speaks at Goldman Sachs and pulls in $250,000 for speaking for a little bit. We need to get the money out of politics and let the politicians do their job. Yep.
Bernie Sanders is just so authentic. Mm-hmm. You look at, what does he have? Something like, what do you say, 4 sweatshirts or 4 sweaters, whatever. Like somebody was commenting on his clothing, and he doesn't have a lot.
Yeah, he walks to work or rides the bus. I mean,
yeah, call him a hippie if you want, but the guy's practical. He's extremely practical, and I really don't see. I've asked so many people to give me a legitimate reason as to why Donald Trump should be president, and I can't get a straight answer.
Yeah.
We're also seeing little stories that compare Trump to Sanders directly. That, they're the same person on opposite sides of the spectrum.
You're both extremists, yeah.
What do you have to say about that? Do you think that's just kind of oversimplifying?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if you're going to lump everybody together like that, I guess you could see, Bernie being an extremist on the left and Trump being an extremist on the right. And then, of course, Hillary trying to be a progressive moderate. But
oh, yeah. She's trying to straddle the fence to the point that she's doing the splits.
It's ridiculous. She still can't make up her mind.
No. Glass-Steagall, we kind of, at the very least, need to reinstate Glass-Steagall.
Yeah, I've heard Bernie bring that up.
And Clinton doesn't want to do that.
Of course not.
And it's interesting to me that, remember the second or third Democratic debate when you had O'Malley, Sanders, and Clinton, and they were basically all agreeing on a lot of issues? They were splitting hairs as far as the differences. Why do they push so hard to explain the differences between the candidates when they're essentially from the same party? I know they're trying to distance... Well, actually, maybe that's it. They're trying to distance themselves from Sanders because he's not a Democrat.
Yeah, maybe they see him too far to the left for the Democratic Party.
Possibly, but then again, that pulls... Right now, Clinton's trying to pull to the right, because now I believe the last I saw it was 42% of American voters consider themselves to be politically independent.
Okay.
That's the hugest voter block, or hugest. Wow, that's the biggest voter block is now as independents. So if Clinton's going to try to go towards the center to snag the largest chunk of independent voters she can, but then she's got Sanders nipping at her heels, so she's got to go left. Do you think eventually that's going to burn out, or is the money machine that's going through her super PAC going to keep it going?
I don't think Hillary's finances are going to be slowing down anytime soon, and that's all the more reason to get Bernie's contributions up too, is because Hillary can go out and speak for a little bit and pull in a $250,000, and takes Bernie 100,000 contributions. So,
but to me that's much more impressive. Yeah, I wanted to keep it a little more classy, but I'm sure you've seen the, excuse me, coffee. I'm sure you've seen the meme with Buddy Jesus from what was that, Dogma, Kevin Smith's movie.
I don't think I've seen that meme. No.
George Carlin was, I believe he was a cardinal or a bishop, and was basically trying to rebrand the Catholic faith, so they came out with Buddy Jesus. Instead of hanging from the cross and showing his wounds, it was a smiling Jesus, kind of giving you that, hey, hey there, buddy, keep going.
Oh my God.
And so the meme is a picture of Buddy Jesus, and it says, "You've worshipped a socialist Jew for years. It's time to vote for one."
Yeah, I've seen, just browsing the interwebs, I've seen people say voting for Bernie is, voting for the socialist Jew is the most Christian thing to do.
It kind of is. People need to practice what they preach. How many Christians do you see that are on the right?
Yeah.
Where, Obama wants to take our guns, I'm going to vote Republican. That's too simplistic. I'm sorry. Bernie Sanders actually has... I don't know your views on gun control or anything, but I have guns. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I do believe we need to control it.
Absolutely.
I know a couple felons. I don't necessarily think they should have guns.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So, when the people are attacking Bernie on that because, he wasn't decisive enough on gun control, yada, yada, yada. He believes in the Second Amendment, but because of all it's happening way too often, mass shootings.
Yeah.
We see it way too often in the news. And you can go ahead and say, it's always been that way. It just doesn't make it, where the news is, it's easier to go national. It's easier to go viral. No, it should not be that way. We shouldn't have to worry about where the next school shooting is going to be. Yeah. And so being for guns, but then being for quality gun control, how is that bad? How can you politically spin that in any way to make it damning to a campaign, really?
Yeah.
Same with wages. The fact is, if they're going to get $15 an hour for flipping burgers...
Yeah.
That's a much more complicated issue.
It really is. Yeah. But $7.25 is absolutely a starvation wage. And then, the argument could be, it's not supposed to be a career. It's, high school kids getting a job or whatever. But
then again, I saw a video of this. This to me was great. It was a black veteran who came back from active duty, and he had a job at KFC. He loved his job. He said that he loved making chicken and feeding the people. He loved seeing the smiles on people's faces when they came to buy chicken. He was able to feed them. The guy was extremely passionate about working at a KFC. So you're telling me that because that's a low-wage job, he needs to find a new profession in order to provide for his wife and 2 kids?
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like the minimum wage and, earnings in general, it's a tough situation because there's so many different variables. One thing will change other things so much more. Yeah, you really have to find a balance. But we need somebody that, wants to continue with it and make it better rather than just stagnating it.
Absolutely. And wages are going to be a tough topic to cover because it is such a complex issue. But across the board, the racial justice, the Supreme Court repealed I don't think, was it the Civil Rights Act? I can't remember. They repealed something that was actually huge as far as was a movement, part of the movement for black equality. They said, well, we don't really need that anymore. Well, now with Donald Trump's campaign being, I don't even know if I want to call it successful, but basically being a poisonous wildfire.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
You're seeing a lot of latent racism coming to point. A Muslim woman was kicked out of a Trump rally because she stood up. She was a Muslim.
Yeah.
There were reports of minorities sitting in Trump rallies, listening to people heckle them. They were being harassed for the color of their skin, all that. It's unacceptable. In today's day and age, we're going to actually give a voice to somebody that represents a lot of just blatant racist, fascist people.
Yeah.
I didn't think we really had that many in America, but the fact is, I wish people would actually wake up. I'm like stalling out on my words. I wish people would wake up to the fact that Donald Trump is just harnessing the anger and frustration of Americans, typically people that aren't as educated or more unwilling to actually do the research necessary to make an informed decision.
Yeah, I agree.
As soon as Sanders announced, I knew I was going to vote for him, but I still, I knew enough about Clinton from the last election, but I went through and did research on every single candidate.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Except Rick Santorum, no way.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's out. Actually, I think it was Rick Santorum that dropped out and threw his support behind Rubio or Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd really, Marco Rubio, I can see he's supposed to be the next poster child that ties in the GOP establishment, but then he's just going to represent a fresh young face for the GOP establishment. Whereas Ted Cruz, it's okay to be religious. It's okay to be, have faith. But in order to achieve the presidency, you are going to use your religion, your faith, as political attraction. That, to me, is not right.
Yeah, we got to keep the church and state separate, And
Absolutely.
When he said he was going to be a Christian first and a politician second, I don't think that was a good thing to say.
Oh, exactly. Because, you know what? I was raised Christian. I now consider myself unaffiliated as far as a religious organization would go, I'll say.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. If you're Christian, you're Hindu, if you believe in Lord Zenu of Scientology.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. It doesn't matter. It's okay to have your faith, but you can't interject your religious beliefs into the political spectrum. Look at the Confederate flag. When they pulled it down from capital of South Carolina, I believe it was, I was all for it. That is a building that represents every citizen of that state. They shouldn't have that flag flying above the Capitol.
Yeah.
But then, of course, they have to go too far, and, well, now we can't sell it. We're pulling the Dukes of Hazzard from TV land. That's going too far. But it is just kind of a frustrating situation in almost every single topic that we cover. But we should hit on one big thing, and that's the fact that there's something like 180 plus economists that support Bernie Sanders, that endorsed Bernie Sanders because they believed in his policy. They crunched the numbers and they said it'll work.
Yeah.
But then you have media organizations that are promoting lies about Sanders' policies and how we can't afford it. It's going to make us poor. What do you think people really need to do as far as research? Do they just need to go straight to the Bernie Sanders website and get the information for themselves? Or what exactly? Because it's one thing to ignore Bernie Sanders, but to go ahead and promote lies because they leave out some of the information. If the numbers work, how can you spin it and try to convince people otherwise?
Exactly. I mean, numbers can't lie. They don't lie.
Journalistic integrity is lacking, in my opinion.
Yeah. But yeah, I would be on par, or I agree with the single payer healthcare system. I think I saw a number that would save, the average person like $5,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
And I won't pretend to, know the specifics on it, but I think that is definitely something that, I agree with and that I'd like to see happen.
Can 180 economists be wrong?
I sure hope not.
But one thing that bothers me about it, and I keep saying one thing and this, that, blah, 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 but he keeps referring, and by he, I mean Bernie Sanders, tells us to look towards the European countries that are democratically socialist.
Mm-hmm.
And on the right, I've seen articles where, socialism failed. Look at Russia. Look at these countries. And they use like the worst examples because it's like, well, they weren't socialist. They were communist, which is different.
Yeah.
But why do they always ignore Bernie Sanders when he says, look at Denmark, look at Sweden, look at Norway?
Yeah, I think those are great examples of how it could work, given that we, start the political revolution off right and we get everybody on board, educate everybody as far as the pros and cons. I mean, of course, there's going to be pros. Of course, there's going to be cons. But also those northern European countries are slightly smaller than the United States. So maybe that's an argument as far as why it wouldn't work. But, we obviously just scale it up and make it, happen with the United States. I think it's definitely a possibility.
I agree. I think deep down, I hope it would work. But then I've also heard people say that, it wouldn't work because the people that just don't want to take care of their health are going to cost us too much money to be able to make it work.
Yeah.
And do you think that maybe that would create, I mean, America, everybody wants to be free. They want to be left alone. But as a people, as a country, as a society, we should start demanding more of people.
Yeah.
And when I say more, I mean better. If you see somebody that does nothing but sit on their butt in front of the TV and eating donuts all day,
they're not going to change just because they have, cheaper healthcare, free healthcare.
Exactly. But I think that people would start to, like, if you save $5,000 a year, look at the grocery store. Cheaper food tends to be the food that's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to save $5,000 a year, you could put that towards a healthier diet.
Exactly.
Like with Norway, they had the largest percentage of overall happiness as a people. They had the lowest murder rate for years.
Yeah.
How could a place that supposedly is, cold and frigid up in Northern Europe be such a happy place? Because they do pay a decent amount more in taxes, but their quality of life is so much better.
It is.
I would rather pay more in taxes than get a random bill from the hospital for $2,000 and try to make it up that way. I'll admit, right now, I don't have insurance. I can't afford it through the marketplace right now. I just filed my taxes, and I gladly paid my tax, not my fine, but I gladly paid it.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That's still cheaper than what I was doing, but I respect the Affordable Care Act. I think it was the first step forward. You had mentioned how Bernie Sanders is the leader of the revolution, and I totally agree. People can question whether or not he has the balls, but look at Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Did he get to accomplish all of his goals? His life was taken, but the movement continued.
Exactly. I mean,
look at Cornel West, Tavis Smiley.
Yeah.
Those people are still carrying that torch.
You just get it started, and if it's something that is worthwhile, worth doing, hopefully it continues to build and improve as we go.
And with the number of people our age that are waking up to this and the fact that we outnumber the baby boomers now.
It's outstanding.
Sorry, baby boomers. I hope you realize that Bernie Sanders wants to take care of you as well. He says that if you work hard all your life, you should be able to retire with dignity.
Absolutely.
And so it does seem funny to me. I've heard some elderly people that are living on Social Security that want to vote Republican, but they don't realize that the Republican they're voting for, unless it's Trump, more than likely voted to decrease your Social Security benefits. These Republicans that claim to support the troops are the same same politicians that have actually voted down bills that were supposed to support the veterans and help them with PTSD or finances. Doesn't matter, because we do have too many homeless vets in this country.
Yeah.
So please compare, contrast, do your homework. I said it in the Rawcast rant episode 2. Make an informed decision. Don't just take a spoonful of soundbite from the left or the right. Do your homework.
Yep.
It's extremely important. So we encourage people to do their homework, and on the day of the election, get out and vote. In which case, if enough people our age get out and vote, there's no way Sanders won't win. But that's hoping that he gets the nomination.
Yeah, here's hoping. I mean,
the nom nod. We need it.
Yeah, I'm confident that, I'm excited to see how this, the whole election plays out. It's going to be outstanding to watch. It's going to be exciting, and hopefully, I'm biased towards Bernie, but hopefully we get the win.
I wouldn't say you're biased towards Bernie. He was a candidate. You said that you had learned about Bernie. You did your homework and made your informed decision.
Yeah.
Whereas we've seen Donald Trump when he was a one-issue candidate for the GOP nomination, where he was a birther. He wanted to see that Obama birth certificate. And now, what exactly is his platform other than build a wall, don't let any immigrants in until we can, well, at least Muslims, until we can figure things out. I've worked with Muslims. There are good and there are bad people. You can't break it down like we need Muslims to stay out till we figure this out.
Yeah.
No, because look at what we did in World War II. We rounded up the Japanese and stuck them in internment camps.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the melting pot, not the exclusion pot.
I mean, we're founded on immigration. We shouldn't cut it off just because, somebody in power is scared of them.
Oh, exactly it. I mean, it's such a small percentage of Muslims that are extremists. We have our own extremists. They don't necessarily go around killing people, but I mean, the Westboro Baptists,
Yeah.
I think they're deep down horrible people.
Absolutely. I mean, protesting, soldiers' funerals and stuff like that.
That's disgusting.
I mean, that's just as bad as an extremist Muslim. I mean, there's extremist Christians too. I mean, the KKK, things like that. I mean,
yeah. So no matter what, there are good and bad people, and I think that's why we have such a large percentage of independent voters now, because they got sick of the mudslinging and, okay, like South Park said, the giant douche versus the turd sandwich. Whereas we should probably discuss, people think it's kind of bad or wrong that Bernie Sanders claims to be an independent, but he's seeking the Democratic nomination. Do you have anything to say about that?
not necessarily. I mean, I think it's a good idea that he would run for the Democratic nomination, just because it would be a little bit more difficult to get the independent nomination rather than.
Well, look at what happened with was it Ron Paul that ran as the third party?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he didn't do so well because we are stuck in that two-party system. But the fact is, Bernie Sanders considers himself to be a democratic socialist. Not just a socialist, a democratic socialist. Look up the difference.
There definitely is a difference, yeah.
Socialism, I guess, was like the #1 researched word recently or something like that.
Well, that's a good sign.
It is a good sign, but democratic socialism should be the #1 phrase, not socialism. But the thing is, Bernie Sanders caucuses with the Democrats because the Democrats more closely align with his belief system than the Republicans.
Yeah.
It would make no sense for him to caucus with the Republicans because he would probably just want to pull his hair out.
Exactly, yeah.
But we're getting to the end of our session here. Do you have any final words? Sum up what are we going to do moving forward? You said you were going to be placing some calls. You're going to be...
Yeah, I'll be phone banking, and I encourage everybody else to at least give it a try. I mean, just do 2 calls a day, just call out and see what the voters are thinking and see if you can persuade them towards Bernie, or, just go out and contribute and volunteer. I think it's very important.
I totally agree. Absolutely important. If you want proof of how important it is, where these phone calls can make a difference, where your vote actually counts, in the Iowa primary, Hillary Clinton took Iowa from Sanders by 4 actual votes. Not 400, not 4,000, 4 votes.
Yeah.
Voting matters. We both encourage you to get out there, do your homework. If you're a staunch Republican, I guess you can stay home.
Yeah.
I mean, no, we encourage everybody to vote, but we really want to see Bernie Sanders succeed. He is the candidate for our generation. He is the candidate for the future. We can look at past mistakes all we want. We can look at political gaffes. Doesn't matter. The fact is, tomorrow's a new day, and we need to be thinking about it.
Yes.
So, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
I hope to have you on again when
I'd love
Bernie's
to.
president.
Absolutely.
But no, I wish you the best. I hope you spin those calls so well that you turn some hard right people into some progressives.
I'm going for it.
But we wish you the best in your efforts for the Bernie campaign, and hopefully we get some good news out of New Hampshire, South Carolina, and the rest of the nation.
Absolutely. Here's to it.
Here's to it. Here's Michael and Doug with Rawcast AD.